Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on Episode 6 of the anime series Psycho-Pass 2. It was, for lack of a better term, an all-out war, as set up and carried out by Kirito Kamui, whose sights have never been more on Akane as they are herein. We're seeing he's got the previously missing Division 2 investigator Shisui completely wrapped around his finger, willing to do anything for him in his quest to procure dominators. Considering it cost her an eye as well as the life of her boss, Aoi Nagi, you could say this is a form of Stockholm Syndrome in the extreme. But of course, the main crux of the episode sees Akane, Gino, Tagane, and a few other enforcers and inspectors caught in the web of Kamui's latest perversion of the system, as militaristic police drones armed with railguns are attuned to handheld video game players at random, with the law appearing to be so many villains to be dispatched via a holographic interface, turning them into sprites and other in-game-like foes. We really get to see characters like Shion, Hinakawa, and even Saikajuji shine, as they attempt as swiftly as their fingers can fly to dismantle the corrupted Holo programming, to expose the truth to the unwitting victims of Kamui's deeds. Working in tandem with those characters, Akane, Gino, and the others devise a bait-and-switch plan of epic proportions, using her as the bait effectively, since she's the focus of the oncoming drone onslaught to begin with, which sees the entire cache of drones shot down and blown up entirely in one fell swoop. But the fun doesn't cease there, as Akane finally has a face-to-face with Kamui for the first time, Shisui being with him, as the singular foe makes his getaway by boat. This was a tense moment, not least of which because Akane had procured a projectile weapon along the way that she insisted to Gino was for luck and luck alone, but which, upon realizing her dominator would be all but ineffectual against Kamui, did she almost brandish against him. That is, until Tagane snapped it up from her hands at the last second, proclaiming it was his job, an enforcer's job in effect, to do the so-called dirty work, which likened Tagane in that moment in Akane's mind to Kagame. A revelation or perhaps recognition with all kinds of ominous undertones, as there is a point in this episode where Tagane once again aims his dominator at Akane to get a read on her psychopath's hue coloring, which yet has remained clear, even amidst all the havoc ensuing all around them. This coinciding with Mika's having stumbled onto the realization, per sneaking into Tagane's apartment, that he's been obsessively stalking Akane since his first day on the job working under her in the MWPSB's Division 1, as well as the fact that he seems to be overheard in this episode to say, when Akane's hue proves to be clear as ever, that he wishes to color it black. Tagane's motivations and character have truly become just as mysterious and confusing as Kirito Kamui's thus far in this series, and yet have they borne in me a working theory that perhaps ties Tagane to Sybil, and perhaps even Bureau Chief Kase, as effectively Kase has made pains to stress to Akane that she should keep an eye on Tagane, which she stipulates is necessary as his was the highest ever criminal coefficient ever recorded, and subsequently removed from his official records. This accompanying the fact that so much of his character seems to embody aspects closely resembling those of Shinya Kagame, a point now relevant to the way Akane sees him, leading me to think that perhaps she's meant to see him in this such a light, that someone, and I'm leaning towards Sybil itself, has manufactured this persona to get in close and to potentially manipulate Akane through a perceived yet false familiarity. Now, I don't know if we're yet to believe, as is hinted in the OP animation, that Tagane is a drone of sorts himself, but his penchant for glowing crimson eyes does lead to that question, as does a question the level of Sybil's involvement, if so. What if a criminalistic mind like Shogo Makishima was entered into the Sybil system and was so strong it began to influence said system in all the wrong ways? Kamui being the full-fledged psychopath he is, it would be pretty hard to imagine, but what if his actions were merely a mirror of Makishima's, trying in the extreme to show Sybil for what it really is? It's a hell of a thing to consider, to be sure. Also, is it fascinating to have overheard Mika saying to herself that she wishes Akane's hue would become cloudy after her ill-perceived notion that Akane is trying to put herself at the center of this episode's unfolding madness, which is in truth Kamui's doing, but which Mika then catches herself on, asking herself what she just said and why. Is this merely a product of the semi-adversarial conflict she's felt for Akane since working as a junior inspector alongside her? Or could this be some small hint at an unseen influence, whether psychological or otherwise, that is meant to turn those around Akane slowly but surely against her, if they're so exposed to it? And if so, could it explain Tagane's seemingly ill-intent obsession, perhaps having for all but a moment rubbed off on and or influenced Mika after having stumbled onto Tagane's digs? In any event, Mika's fears at a wide-scale stress-level reaction to Kamui's false video game being exposed have come to pass just as the episode ends, and effectively Kamui and Shisui have made their seaborne getaway. Where we'll pick up in the coming episode is anyone's guess, and I simply cannot wait to see. So otherwise, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this particular episode of Psycho Pass 2, and what you think of my speculations as to the potential influences of Tagane and the other characters on Akane, and the motivations of Kamui and such like that. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.